The first key, a standalone hypnotic induction for deeper, more receptive listening. Do not listen to this while you're driving, operating machinery, or doing anything that requires your full attention. Use this only when you are somewhere safe and comfortable. Before we begin, allow yourself to become more comfortable in whatever way feels more natural to you. There is no perfect position, no special way you need to sit or lie down or breathe. You do not have to make anything happen. You do not have to prove that you are relaxed. You do not have to wonder whether you're doing this correctly, because there is no single correct way to experience hypnosis. Some people notice heaviness. Some notice lightness. Some see vivid images. Some simply hear the words and discover later that something meaningful has shifted. Some people feel deeply relaxed, while others remain quietly aware of every sound around them. And all those experiences can become perfectly useful. So for now, you can let go of every expectation about what hypnosis is supposed to feel like and simply become curious about what your experience will be like tonight. Because this induction has only one gentle purpose: to help your mind become more comfortable, more familiar, and more receptive whenever you listen to hypnotic storytelling. Not by forcing your mind to change, not by making you believe anything you do not wish to believe, but by helping you recognize an ability you already possess. The ability to become absorbed, the ability to imagine, the ability to focus inward, the ability to allow a story to become more than words. Perhaps you have experienced this before while reading a book and suddenly realize you could no longer hear the sounds around you, or while watching a film and feeling emotion for something you knew was only happening on screen, or while listening to music and noticing that one song seemed to carry you back through time. These are all natural states of focused attention, natural moments when the outside world becomes quieter and the inner world becomes more vivid. And hypnosis can feel very much like that. So as you listen now, you do not need to enter some strange or unfamiliar place. You are simply learning to recognize a doorway you have walked through many times before. And the more familiar that doorway becomes, the easier it may be to pass through it again, quietly, naturally, in your own way. Begin by noticing the surface beneath you. Notice where your body is being supported, perhaps beneath your head, your shoulders, your back, your arms, your hips, your legs. You do not need to adjust anything unless your body wants to. And you may notice that the surface beneath you is doing most of the work. It is already holding you, already supporting you, already receiving the weight you no longer need to carry. So perhaps you can allow yourself to give back just a little more of that weight. Not all at once, only a little, as though your body were quietly remembering that it does not have to remain prepared for the next moment. It does not have to brace. It does not have to perform. It does not have to stay one step ahead for the next few moments. You are free to simply listen. And as you listen, begin noticing your breathing. There is no need to change it. Your body already knows how to breathe. It has been breathing for you all day without requiring your help. So you can simply notice the gentle arrival of each breath and the effortless release of each exhale. Breathing in and perhaps becoming a little more aware, and breathing out, perhaps allowing a little more effort to leave. Another breath in and another breath out. And you may imagine that every exhale creates a little more space inside your mind. Space between one thought and the next. Space between the day and this moment. Space between effort and allowing. There may still be thoughts. That is perfectly all right. Thoughts do not prevent hypnosis. Sounds do not prevent hypnosis. Movement does not prevent hypnosis. You do not have to create silence in order to go inward. You can allow every sound to become part of the experience. Every distant noise can remind you that the outside world can continue without your attention. Every thought can drift through without needing an answer. And every breath can guide you back to the sound of my voice. So there is nothing you need to fight, nothing you need to push away. You may simply notice and return. Notice and return again and again until returning becomes easier and more automatic. Now, bring your attention to the muscles around your eyes. Those small muscles that have spent all day watching, reading, searching, reacting. You might imagine that those muscles are becoming loose, not because you command them to, but because they no longer have anything important to watch. Your eyelids may feel heavy, or they may simply feel still. And either way, you can allow them to rest. Let the forehead smooth. Let the space between your eyebrows soften. Let the muscles around the temples release, as though the entire upper part of your face were learning a new language, the language of quiet. Allow that quiet to move downward through your cheeks, into the jaw, the mouth, the tongue. Perhaps your jaw can loosen slightly. Your teeth need not touch. Your tongue can rest comfortably. And you may notice how much easier it becomes to listen when the body is no longer holding unnecessary effort. Let that feeling continue into your neck and down your shoulders. You may imagine that your shoulders have been holding invisible bags filled with unfinished moments, things you meant to do, things you wish you had silenced, things you wish you had said, things you may need to remember tomorrow. And for now, those bags can be placed down, not lost, not forgotten, simply set aside, because nothing useful needs to be solved during this induction. Your conscious mind can rest, and your deeper mind can listen in whatever way is most helpful to you. Allow the shoulders to drop a little, and then perhaps a little more. Let relaxation travel down both arms, through the upper arms, the elbows, the forearms, the wrist, the palms, in each individual finger. You may feel warmth, heaviness, tightness, tingling, or perhaps nothing noticeable at all. You do not need a special sensation. The process can continue even when you are not consciously monitoring it. In fact, the less you monitor, the easier it may become to simply experience. Now, let the relaxation move into your chest. You might notice the natural rhythm of your breathing, the rise and the fall. Each breath like a quiet wave arriving and returning. Nothing forced, nothing hurried. And perhaps as your breathing settles, your heart can settle too. Not because every feeling must disappear, but because every feeling can be held inside something calmer. Allow the muscles of your back to loosen. The upper back, the middle, the lower back. Every place that has been working to keep you upright can begin to release. Imagine that the surface beneath you is rising gently to meet your body, so there is nowhere you need to hold yourself. You can be supported. You can be carried. You can allow yourself to receive. And that idea of receiving may become important, because effective hypnosis listening does not come from trying harder. It often comes from allowing more, allowing the words to pass through the conscious mind without examining every sentence, allowing images to form in their own way, allowing feelings to rise without needing to name them, allowing your unconscious mind to take what is useful and leave behind anything that is not. You remain in control. You may accept or reject any suggestions. And because you know that, you may find it easier to relax. Your mind does not need to guard against every word. It can simply listen with wisdom, keeping what serves you, ignoring what does not, and responding only in ways that feel safe, appropriate, and beneficial. Let that relaxation move now through your abdomen, the stomach softening, the muscles releasing, the breath moving freely, and perhaps you can imagine that your entire nervous system is beginning to receive a simple message. You are safe enough to turn inward, safe enough to imagine, safe enough to become absorbed, safe enough to let a story carry you for a while. Let that comfort move through your hips, your thighs, your knees, your calves, your ankles, and your feet, all the way to the tops of your toes. And when the body has been invited to relax from head to toe, there may be a natural sense of settling, as though you have arrived at the beginning of something deeper. In a moment, I will count gently from 10 down to 1, and with each number, you may allow yourself to move further into focused listening, not necessarily into sleep, not necessarily into unconsciousness, but into a comfortable state where imagination becomes easier and effort becomes less necessary. And there is no need to reach for any particular depth. Whatever depth you reach will be the right depth for this moment. 10. Beginning to turn your attention inward. 9. Allowing the outside world to become less important. 8. Noticing that you can listen without analyzing every word. 7. Letting the body settle more completely. 6. Allowing imagination to become more available. 5. Halfway down, and perhaps already discovering that you do not need to know how deeply you are going. 4. Your conscious mind may continue listening while another part of you learns quietly. 3. More absorbed, more receptive, more at ease. 2. Almost there, as though you're approaching a familiar inner doorway. And 1. Arriving in your own way. And now, Imagine that before you there is a quiet space, not a room, not a building, simply a space that seems to exist between ordinary awareness and imagination. There is no need to see it clearly. You might feel it, sense it, or simply accept it. This is the place where stories begin to become experiences, where words can become sensations, where descriptions can become images, where a single sentence can open an entire inner world, and perhaps you begin to understand that you do not need to create every detail consciously. Your imagination already knows how to complete what words begin. If a story mentions a warm breeze, you do not need to force yourself to feel every movement of air. Perhaps you simply know what a warm breeze means, and that knowing is enough. If a story describes a distant light, you do not need to see it as clearly as a photograph. Perhaps you only sense brightness somewhere inside, and that is enough. If a character feels relief, you do not have to manufacture a powerful emotion. Perhaps something in you softens slightly, and that is enough. Because hypnotic imagination does not have to be perfect. It only needs to be permitted. From now on, whenever you listen to a hypnotic story, you may allow yourself to begin with permission. Permission not to perform. Permission not to test yourself. Permission not to ask, is this working? Because the question, is this working, pulls the mind outward to evaluate, while the question, what am I beginning to notice, allows the mind to remain curious. So perhaps in future sessions, when you become aware of that old need to evaluate, you can gently replace it with curiosity. Not, am I hypnotized? But, what am I noticing? Not, am I deep enough? But, what part of me is already responding? Not, can I visualize this? But, what do I sense when I hear these words? And those questions may guide your attention toward whatever is already happening, because something is almost always happening. A breath slows, a muscle softens, an image flickers, a memory appears, a feeling shifts, a thought becomes quieter. And the moment you notice one small response, your mind begins learning that it knows how to follow. Perhaps you can imagine that every hypnotic session creates a familiar pathway inside your mind. The first time, the pathway may seem faint. The second time, more recognizable. And each time you return, the pathway becomes easier to follow. Not because you lose control, but because you gain familiarity. You recognize the rhythm, the pacing, the pauses, the invitation to turn inward. Your body begins recognizing that certain sounds mean it can release. Your breathing begins recognizing that certain pauses mean it can slow. Your imagination begins recognizing that stories are invitations rather than instructions to be performed perfectly. And your unconscious mind begins recognizing that it is safe to become involved. You might imagine that somewhere within you there is a dial. A simple dial that controls your level of involvement in a hypnotic story. Perhaps in the past, that dial remained low because part of you was still watching, still testing, still waiting to decide whether the experience was good enough. But now, you can begin learning that you control the dial. You can turn it only as far as feels comfortable. Perhaps slightly now, just enough to become a little more absorbed, a little more responsive, a little more willing to let the story unfold. And every time you listen in the future, you may choose to turn that dial a little more easily, not because you must, but because you can. Imagine turning it now from 1 to 2, noticing perhaps a little more inward focus from 2 to 3, allowing the words to pass more freely from 3 to 4, letting your body respond naturally from 4 to 5, allowing imagination to provide whatever images feels right. There is no need to turn it further unless part of you would enjoy discovering what 6 might feel like, or 7, or perhaps you prefer to leave it exactly where it is, because the most useful level is the one you choose freely. And now, imagine another ability beginning to strengthen, the ability to let suggestions continue working after the story ends. Sometimes the conscious mind expects change to arrive dramatically, a sudden realization, an overwhelming sensation, an obvious transformation. But many useful changes begin quietly, a different response in a familiar moment, a pause where there used to be an urgency, a new thought appearing where an old thought once repeated, a little more confident, a little less tension, a choice that somehow feels easier. So after future sessions, you do not have to search for proof. You can allow your unconscious mind to continue processing in the background, integrating what is helpful, releasing what is unnecessary, making changes at a pace that respects you. And because you do not need to force the result, you may become more receptive to noticing it naturally. Perhaps your mind can begin forming a new association. Whenever you prepare to listen to a hypnotic story and you become comfortable and hear the first slow words, your body may begin to recognize the pattern. The shoulders soften, the jaw releases, the breathing settles, the attention turns inward, not because you are commanded, but because your mind remembers. It remembers this feeling. It remembers that listening can be easy. It remembers that you do not have to make hypnosis happen. You only have to allow enough space for absorption to begin. And perhaps each future session can begin where the previous one ended, not in terms of depth or achievement, but in familiarity. Your mind no longer starts from the beginning. It remembers the pathway. It recognizes the doorway. It knows the sound of being invited inward. And because it recognizes the beginning, it may arrive a little sooner, a little more comfortably, a little more naturally. From this moment forward, you may discover that pauses feel more meaningful, that your breathing responds to rhythm, that images arise without being forced, that metaphors begin reaching places ordinary expectations cannot always reach. And even when you do not consciously understand every meaning, your unconscious mind can explore what the story means to you. It can interpret symbols through your own experiences. It can adapt suggestions to your own values. It can transform general words into personal understanding. And as you listen to future stories, you may let the characters represent parts of yourself without needing to decide which parts. You may let journeys become emotional journeys. You may let changes in light represent changes in understanding. You may allow doors, paths, seasons, sounds, and silence to speak in the private language of your own imagination. No one else needs to understand that language. Your unconscious mind already does. And perhaps there will be moments when your conscious mind wanders. That is not failure. Wandering can become part of the trance. The mind may drift because it no longer needs to follow every word consciously. And whenever you notice you have wandered, you can return without frustration. Returning may deepen focus. Wandering may allow your unconscious processing. So either way, the experience can continue. You cannot ruin the process by having a thought. You cannot ruin it by adjusting your body. You cannot ruin it by briefly losing track of the words. You may simply return when you return and trust that the parts you need can still reach you. In future sessions, you may also discover that your body creates its own signals of readiness, perhaps a deeper breath, a swallow, a sense of heaviness, a feeling behind the eyes, a warm sensation in the hands, a shift in posture, or simply the quiet realization that you are no longer thinking as quickly. Whatever signal your body chooses can become a reminder that you are entering a more focused state. And each time you notice that signal, you may slightly think, yes, I can allow this. Not forcing yourself deeper, simply agreeing to continue. Now imagine that all of these learnings are gatherings inside you, not as a complicated instructions, but as one simple understanding. You already know how to become absorbed. You already know how to imagine. You already know how to respond emotionally to stories. You already know how to focus when something matters. This induction is not giving you a foreign ability. It is reminding you how to use an ability that has always been yours. And the more often you use that ability, the more familiar and accessible it may become. You may listen to this induction again whenever you choose, and each repetition may reveal something different. One time, you may notice deeper physical relaxation. Another time, more vivid images. Another time, greater emotional connection. And another time, you may remember almost nothing, while discovering afterward that you feel unusually calm. There's no correct response, only your response. And your response can evolve naturally. In a moment, I will offer several gentle suggestions for your future listening. You do not need to repeat them. You do not need to memorize them. You may simply hear them and allow your mind to keep whatever feels useful. Whenever you listen to a hypnotic storytelling session, you can become comfortable more easily. Whenever you hear a calm and measured voice, you may remember how to soften your body. Whenever a story begins, you may allow curiosity to replace evaluation. Whenever an image is suggested, you may experience it in whatever way comes naturally. Whenever your mind wanders, you may return without criticism. Whenever a pause arises, your body may use that pause to relax more deeply. Whenever you notice even a small response, you may recognize that your imagination is participating. Whenever a useful suggestion fits your values and goals, your unconscious mind may consider it in the way that feels safe and most beneficial for you. Whenever a session ends, the helpful parts may continue integrating quietly, without effort. And each time you listen, you may become more familiar with your own natural ability to focus, imagine, feel, and respond. There is no need to become the best hypnotic subject. There is no competition, no score, no perfect trance. The experience belongs to you, and because it belongs to you, you can allow it to unfold differently each time. Some sessions may feel profound, some may feel subtle, some may simply provide rest, and each experience can prepare the mind for the next. Now, take a moment to notice how you feel. You do not need to name it. Perhaps your body feels heavier, perhaps lighter. Perhaps the sound of these words seem farther away or closer. Perhaps time has passed differently than you expected. Whatever you notice can be accepted, and whatever you do not notice can be accepted too, because learning can occur naturally and quietly. In a moment, I will count from 1 up to 5. If you are using this induction before another hypnotic story, you may remain deeply relaxed and simply allow the next session to begin from this receptive state. If you are listening at a time when you wish to sleep, you may continue the count and drift naturally into comfortable rest. And if you wish to return to full wakening awareness, you can follow the numbers upward, feeling clear, steady, and refreshed. 1. Gently becoming aware of the body. 2. Noticing the surface beneath you while keeping the useful calm. 3. Taking a comfortable breath and allowing energy to return to the right place. 4. Perhaps moving your fingers or toes whenever you are ready. And 5. Eyes opening only when it feels right, feeling present, comfortable, and carrying with you the simple understanding that every time you choose to listen, you can allow yourself to become more absorbed, a little more naturally, and every future journey may begin with the first key already in your hand.